Hello friends, welcome back to my channel. My name's Chelsea. You know that, I know that. I'm just a lady with a camera, bulldog, and too many opinions, and a crying baby in the other room. He's being supervised, don't worry. He's not just like crying by himself in the other room. Anyways, so how are you? As many of y'all know, I was affected by Hurricane Helene. That dirty. I hate her so much. And I do live in Florida, Tampa to be specific, South Tampa to be more specific, pretty close to the water. That doesn't narrow it down. It's a peninsula on a peninsula. But a lot of y'all have been asking me to cover fellow content creator, influencer, OG beauty YouTuber Jaclyn Hill talking about hurricanes and how she now lives in California and how earthquakes are scarier than hurricanes, or like she'd rather be in an earthquake than a hurricane, stuff like that. So we're gonna watch that and just let that play so you know we have context. And I am going to do a craft because that is what I've been really throwing myself into. Otherwise, I will get super overwhelmed and cry a lot. So before we actually watch Jaclyn's video, I do want to say I'm fine and safe and all that. And we're going to get into, like, literally this is going to be the Weather Channel. Just call me James Cantor. What is his name? Or if you're local, Dennis Phillips. That's the only man I'm going to listen to. And he was right. He's always right. So I'm doing a craft. So if you hear something, that's what it is. Or it's my bulldog snoring underneath me because he has not left my side throughout this entire thing, which he never leaves my side. But still, I'm painting a sign for our little Halloween cemetery setup that we have in our yard. So let's get to it. Now, Hurricane Helene was a Category 4 when it passed by us. And if you don't know, a hurricane, wouldn't it just be so funny if it just started breaking down every little tiny thing about hurricanes? You know what a hurricane is, okay? Come on. I feel like I should just kind of go through like our experience with it. And it was pretty crazy, but we have actually no, you know what? We're going to go ahead and watch what she said. And then I'm going to go over why I think she has this mindset, and then go over like my experience with it too. And I do just want to say, you can be entitled to your own opinion. I personally would much rather go through a Category 4 hurricane here in Tampa than somewhere where the houses aren't made of cement blocks, you know, or actually be way more specific, I'd much rather go through a hurricane in Tampa in my sister's house because it's a new construction home and it was built last year, and per like flooding restrictions and, you know, the codes and stuff. When you build a new house here, you have to build it literally like 6 feet off the ground, or like your first floor has to start like 7 feet off the ground, whatever. It depends on, you know, how close you are to the water and all that. Let's go ahead and watch what Jaclyn said, because I do think a lot of people are having more so emotional, which is valid, emotional responses to what she's saying. But then I do think it is a little bit tone deaf too, especially since she's not here and not seeing like the absolute devastation that is happening in South Tampa and not like witnessing it firsthand, you know? Hey y'all, on my channel, we are not unfamiliar with unhinged people and their unhinged opinions. And let's be honest, it is really entertaining. That's why we're here. But unfortunately for some of us, we have people like that in our personal lives. And with it being an election year and misinformation running rampant, good old Uncle Reggie at Sunday family dinners is just out of control. I get it. But good news for your crazy Uncle Reggie, because today's sponsor... No, Reggie.
Great idea for the video. We go to the human waste factory and we look and see how Celsius is putting it in their drinks. You see that? They got, like I saw it on TikToks, they put cyanide in human waste.
Reggie, what are you talking about? It's 11 a.m. on a Thursday. Why are you even here?
Walmart and I had a disagreement.
So you got fired from Walmart? What'd you do this time?
Threw out all the soup cans.
Because the government's putting 5G in the soup cans.
In the soup cans. You get it? Tell all them prescribers you got about those photos I told you about that I saw on Facebook. About,
you have got to stop following.
You got to tell them.
For AI photos that you see on Facebook. Tony, please take Uncle Reggie home or go get him out of here. Listen, it's too late for Uncle Reggie. But for the rest of us, there's Ground News, the sponsor of today's video. Ground News is my go-to news platform, developed by former female NASA engineer Harleen Kaur, to give readers an easy, data-driven way to keep up with the news. The app gathers related articles from thousands of sources around the world, allowing me to easily compare how different outlets cover the exact same story and gives context on the source of each publication. For instance, speaking of AI images, Trump, I would say tweeted, but it was on his Truth Social. He posted AI generated pictures of Taylor Swift, insinuating or claiming that he had her support. It was quite goofy. Ground News found over 200 news outlets covering this story. 54 lean left, while 16% lean right, with the difference being center leaning. Below that, you can see the factuality breakdown, which of course is my favorite aspect of this, for the reporting outlets, as well as ownership, which obviously is very important. And for that story, over 40% of the reporting outlets are owned by media conglomerate. And y'all know we love independent journalism over here. So put down your tinfoil hat. We don't need to use that yet. And go to ground.news/CC Suarez, or click the link in my description box today. And if you sign up through that link, then you'll receive 40% off of the Vantage plan, which is the plan that I use. And that gives you unlimited access to all of their amazing features. Let's go ahead and watch this. I hate it already. Like, I don't want to watch this.
Obviously, my phone does not know that I moved to California, and I got a text today saying that I was in an evacuation zone for a hurricane and that I needed to leave. And I was like, I already did that 6 months ago. Okay, but seriously, people are always comparing the two. Like, my friends in California are like, oh yeah, we deal with earthquakes, but they're not as bad as hurricanes. So now that I have lived through 5 earthquakes, 5, okay? All of them being in the last like 10 days, which is actually insane. My hair is so clean. It's like not, whatever, moving on. Yeah, earthquakes are so much worse than hurricanes. There's actually no comparison. As someone who moved to Florida when I was 7 years old in 1997, okay, and then like moved back and forth, I've gone through so many hurricanes. Earthquakes are 1,000 times worse. Don't at me.
Okay, so I think there are a few things that we need to cover with this. Obviously, people's experiences are different. I understand that. And I think that's something that like there are more aspects that go into this, right? So obviously with both forces of nature, hurricanes and earthquakes, you're going to have different magnitudes, so to speak, different categories. And yes, I do think that with an earthquake, you know, they are pretty sudden, and there's not like, from what I know, there's not a season for them, right? And so of course that is crazy. And I've always said I would much rather have a hurricane than tornadoes, because you don't know when a tornado is coming through, right? I have experienced those as well, thanks to hurricanes. Which is crazy. Not like the ones that, you know, Helen Hunt and Bill Paxton are getting spooked by at a movie theater, right? But still, I would say that I would much rather go through a hurricane than a like giant record-breaking earthquake or a super spooky tornado. So I think that is something that needs to be said, right? And also, she was getting this text because her house, her Tampa house, was in Zone A and in South Tampa, and their houses are destroyed, and it's so sad. But we're going to get to that in a minute. So keep in mind, she got the same text that I got at whatever time it was that, you know, we were being evacuated. It was the mandatory evacuation order. All that means is that, you know, the mandatory evacuation order, you don't have to leave. You should maybe get to higher ground, but you don't have to leave your house. And a lot of people don't in Tampa, because we're idiots and we're stubborn. But what it means is that emergency services are not going to come to you if you need emergency services, basically. A tree falls in your house, oh well, you're in the evacuation zone. Like, you shouldn't be there. And basically, like, they're not going to be able to get to you, because guess what? Most likely it's going to be flooded and roads are going to be impassable. So she would have gotten that text before all of this devastation happened in Tampa, right? And I do want to state that Tampa, or the Tampa Bay area, so to speak, but South Tampa, the peninsula, on the peninsula, has not been directly hit by a hurricane, meaning the eye of the hurricane goes over us, like 120 years, I believe it was. And I'll put like articles and stuff. I shared some on Instagram the other day, but a lot of people don't understand that. So with Hurricane Charlie, Hurricane Irma, the ones that were supposed to hit us directly turn at the last minute and they don't hit us. People joke all the time. You can even see it on the subreddit page that people joke all the time that it's because of, the warm waters in the bay, or that's what one of our past mayors, Bob Buckhorn, had said. Good old Bobby, I love Bob Buckhorn. And then there's a lot of people as well who say it's like an indigenous curse that like it doesn't hit us, which that's hilarious. I think that that's important to understand. So most arguably people, natives, people who have lived here for their entire life. So I'm a 4th generation South Tampian and South Tampon. I don't leave. I mean, previously when it was just me and Tony, like, no, we would not leave. Or sometimes when my parents still lived in South Tampa, but they moved because they're rude, we would all go to my parents' house with all of our dogs, all of our significant others, and just spend the night there. And it was fun. You hear about hurricane parties and you drink the whole time and you just, make sure you have your sandbags and your water and if you have a generator, which thank God we do now, but all that stuff, you prep your house and you're good to go. What are you going to do? Stop it? You're going to stop the storm? Like I said, most people know that in South Tampa that it usually moves like right before it gets to us. But this time we were in the path of destruction, or like the cone of whatever they call it. Again, it did shift. But the thing is that this storm was so big and the winds were so strong. A lot of people aren't understanding like, oh, well, South Tampa floods anyways, like you're used to that. But that's just with rain, right? And usually with hurricanes, we just got rain and that's it, just a lot of rain. And that's not a bunch of water all at once. And then it doesn't, just dissipate super quickly. It just sits, it's standing water. And with rain, yes, it's over time, but then it drains whatever. And the drainage system is able to keep up with it and our infrastructure is able to keep up with it. But storm surge, I actually explained this to Sherilyn Dale, my podcast co-host, here for the clout. Feel free to watch and follow and all that. Because she's from the Texas of Canada. She doesn't get it. So I had to explain it to her. Like it's not flooding from the rain. It's flooding from the storm surge. So think of it like this. When the hurricane swoops around, it's sucking up all of the wind is sucking up all of that water in the bay, in the canals. And like I said, I live on a peninsula That's what South Tampa is. I've said it a billion times. I know. I could walk to the water right now. I could. I'd be sweating, but I could walk to the water. I mean, I could walk to the water that way too. I will not, but I could. Realistically, anywhere you are in South Tampa, if you're actually on the peninsula, you could walk to the water, walk to the water. But so these strong storms have these ridiculous winds, and the winds were very strong with this one, sucks up all the water as it's going around, and then once that comes back around, it's pushing that water back in. We used to have the longest continuous sidewalk in the world, meaning there were no breaks in it. Because there's sidewalk and then an intersection, then sidewalk, but it's along the water. It's beautiful. It's called Bayshore Boulevard. So beautiful. Not to be confused with the Bayshore that is over in, I think, St. Pete. This one's better in my opinion. But that's where we have the Pirate Festival and all that, right? But it's absolutely beautiful. So pretty. Loves it so much. And when there is a very strong storm, what will happen is all of that water in that bay, I think it's called McKay Bay, will literally get just sucked out. And you can walk out on the bay, which is disgusting. Don't do that. That's gross. But it's kind of like when Moana walks in the water and the water gets pushed out. Obviously, it's not like Moses splitting the seas, right? So when that hurricane comes back around and pushes all that water back in, it is so much water and so fast. Our drainage system, our sewers, our infrastructure, meaning the streets and everything, cannot keep up with it. It just flushes through basically, and it is so scary. So we had a little bit of flooding from the rain. We didn't have really too much rain because again, the hurricane had pushed itself out more towards, the armpit of Florida, or the panhandle, but the armpit of Florida, as I call it. No offense to y'all, but it's an armpit. That comes in. My neighbor, Tony, had already gone to sleep because he had worked the next day. something told me to stay up, because typically I will do that for a hurricane anyways. Like I want to stay up until it completely passes us. And my neighbor came running down the street because I guess he was walking his dog and he saw it coming in, and he knocked on our door, and I looked out and I was like, oh my God, terrifying. Just seeing all that water like rushing in, like just like from the darkness, like from down the street, and it's midnight. And I put Wiggum's harness on, woke up Tony, and we got our go bags that were already by the door just in case. Did I already say got the baby? Got the baby too. Can't leave him. We got in the car. My car, we have a Toyota Sequoia, the new one. It's high up. I have to climb into it, okay? We almost didn't make it out. So I'm so thankful that he got us back. But we had about 9 inches of water in some parts of our house. And then like 4 inches in other parts. We have had to, I'm like putting my office back together right now, and the living room, like our house is just in disarray. Things are everywhere. We already took up the laminate flooring in the like lower parts of our house. So my office and the dining room and the laundry room too. We took all that up, and it sucks. I've already tried to film this video once and I cried because it's not even just the damage. I don't want to like invalidate my own experience by saying like, oh, well, other people have it worse, because yes, obviously, I mean, people right next door to us, their entire house is on the curb basically. And when you drive down the street, just people have like their entire house on the lawn. And same within St. Pete and in Clearwater and Dana Shores, like all these areas in Tampa. Person we know, and I actually just shared their stuff on Instagram, and I'll put the link for it down below too. But one of my sister-in-law's really good friends and coworkers, Marissa, they got their 4-month-old daughter, and I think their dog, I don't know if they have a dog, but they got every living thing out of the house, every being out of the house with, just like an overnight bag. And they, did sandbags. They did, what you're supposed to do to prepare. And then while they were gone, a lawnmower that was in their garage had a lithium battery in it, and it caught fire and it burned down their entire house. And that's one of the ones that like people are, that people are like posting all over social media, and it's like aerial footage of it and all that. It's horrible. It's so sad. There was a house on Davis Island, ironically enough, where Jaclyn Hill used to live, on Davis Island, that there was a Tesla in the garage, and it caught fire and just like exploded, and the house burnt down. There's multiple houses that burnt down on Davis Island, I believe. One of our friends was electrocuted because his breaker box, I was like, how are you alive still? So many things have happened to you in your life. How are you alive? His, I guess like breaker box was like smoking, and he was trying to like, I don't know, manage it, do something to remedy the situation. So his house didn't catch on fire, and it was like sparking, and he got like in a movie, like blown back. Like, so there's a lot going on. Many of my friends have lost everything. Thankfully, within our immediate family, like no one's lost everything, thank God. But multiple people down the street from me have lost everything. My next door neighbor has lost so much, and it is so sad. It is so, so, so sad. A lot of people keep saying like, oh, aren't you used to this? Why wasn't Tampa like prepared for this? And a lot of people are talking about like insurance and stuff. I'm not even gonna get into flood insurance or home insurance, because I think all that's a scam anyways, but I'm not even gonna get into that, okay? People don't understand that the storm surge was the worst that we have ever had, ever. In 1922, there apparently was a storm that was pretty bad, and it was back when there were like 4 people living here. And even the Tampa Bay Times has said that for Tampa Bay, Helene was the worst storm in a century. 103 years since the famed 1921 direct hit. And again, direct hit meaning that the eye of the storm goes straight over you. And that wasn't even the case here. We didn't even have a direct hit. It was the storm surge that got us. And also, so it was a mix of that and the fact that it was high tide when it happened. Like that, it was just like the perfect mix of like craziness. Tampa regulars, our barkeeps, retirees, refugees, all had the same reaction this week to the aftermath of Hurricane Helene, no matter what part of the region they call home. Surprised, never seen it this bad, never seen water so high, never seen it come anywhere close to our door, No one expected this. All my life, it's never flooded. Hurricanes aren't new here, but late Thursday, after a long day in Tampa Bay of been there, done that winds, the Gulf of Mexico's midnight black salt water, pushed for miles by Helene's force, finally it ran out of room. It unleashed over seawalls and into neighborhoods and homes, in some places reaching 7 feet above ground. So not only the size of the hurricane, but the time that it came through, the category that it was, the wind speed, and that it went like right above us instead of like turning below us. Like Hurricane Ian turned below us instead of above us. And so we didn't really have like much damage from that. Then again, Boca Grande, Sarasota, Inglewood, all those places, just awful, crazy. Sorry if the lighting's different. My baby's playing outside, so I have to close my window so he doesn't start screaming if he sees me. So I think understanding the importance of like that aspect of it, and obviously, and I'm not making excuses for her, that was extremely tone deaf. Jaclyn, if you're watching this, that was extremely tone deaf. What are you doing? I don't think she meant to be tone deaf. I'm not making excuses for her, but is tone deaf to, say stuff like that, especially as someone who has been through a lot of hurricanes. I mean, think about it. Her and I have been through like an equal amount of hurricanes. Yes, hurricanes can be scary, but also saying, I don't know, just like saying that when, yes, you've been through hurricanes and all that, but not like this. And you have never been hit directly by one. I've been hit directly by 2, Hurricane Charlie and 2 like direct hit. And that was spooky. But thank God I was in Lakeland, Florida and Orlando for both of those. So the storms had weakened because they had gone over land, because obviously hurricanes, are stronger over the water because they suck up more water, right? Do you get it? Meteorology 101. So I think that's important to understand too. But just saying these types of things when, we aren't people who have experienced direct hits in Tampa. And again, I understand that she said it before, she had even seen the destruction of it. And she obviously wasn't going to know that storm surge was going to be crazy. And I'm sure she feels bad saying that when now looking, I'm sure has seen on social media the just absolute destruction and people who have had total losses. I also, was being a little, before the storm had happened and before I had anywhere from 20,000 to 50 to 100,000 in damages to my house, which sucks. I was even saying like, I'm going to be fine. I'm going to sleep through it, blah, blah, blah. Because yes, typically I would do that. But because of the storm surge and being woken up at midnight and having to get out, like, y'all know my husband has seen some crazy things at his job, some horrific things. And after we got in the car, he was like shivering. And I'm like, are you cold? Like, put on your seat heater. And he's like, no, I'm fine. And after like we got to my brother's house and we're like settled in there and, got the baby back to sleep, he looked at me and he was like, that was one of the scariest things I've ever seen. He's like, all of that water coming in so fast. He's like, that was so scary. And I was like, were you shaking because you were scared? And he's like, yeah. Good Lord, that man, I've told him so many times over the past few days, I'm like, I was like, sir, you did so good taking care of our family. And realistically, because there was like a downpour right when we like got out of the house and like to get in the car, I didn't even have a chance to look down the street. Like I saw a bit of it coming in, but I didn't see what he saw, which was like a rush of it, which is crazy. But I was just trying to get the baby in the car. I was focused on that. And he already had Wiggum in the car. But so yes, y'all can even see on my podcast episode that was supposed to go up Friday, but it'll probably go up today or tomorrow for last week, that I even said in there like, oh, I'll be fine. I'm going to be okay. I'm going to sleep through it, blah, blah, like whatever. And obviously that's being more so, I don't want to say ignorant, but that is what it is. But it's more so being naive, just thinking like, oh, it's just going to be just like all the other ones. But this obviously was way more devastating. I have had people ask me like, does this make you want to move out of Tampa or whatever? And I'm like, no, probably never going to move out of South Tampa. I don't foresee myself ever moving out of South Tampa. Have said that our next house will be a new construction home that will be built up and will literally be a hurricane-proof fortress. So my researcher, Kelly, everyone say hi, Kelly, is from Asheville, and she's been updating us. They don't have power. They don't know when they're going to get power. They don't have anything. She's safe We've been like keeping tabs on her. Our family up there is safe, thank God. These other places like Asheville and, you know, other places like that aren't equipped for these types of huge, crazy storms. A good example of that is how Hurricane Sandy just destroyed areas in New Jersey and New York and all that. But if that hurricane would have hit, you know, anywhere in Florida, like, I don't want to be like, oh, they'd be fine, because again, that's naive too, but it wouldn't have caused that much destruction because our infrastructure, meaning our buildings, our roads, our homes, all that they're more so built to withstand that, right? Jaclyn Hill does not control the weather, you guys. So I did just want to come on and say that. And obviously she doesn't wish destruction on anyone. And of course, I mean, you have to factor in, I mean, you don't have to factor in anything. Obviously you can hate her if you want, but I think it is important to factor in like, okay, where, like, let's get more specific. You'd rather be in a hurricane in South Tampa, in your home that you had a generator and it was built up, and sure, your specific neighborhood probably literally still underwater right now. It's not, but pretty sure they don't have power over there right now. And you'd rather, like, you know, be in that than an earthquake where you live right now. And obviously, like, that's new to you. So yes, I understand what she's saying. Do I think she maybe should have gotten like a little bit more specific? Of course, but who's gonna do that? I'm not saying that, you know, your feelings are invalid if you know, are pissed off at her. I'm right there with you, buddy. But again, she had said that before there was, you know, all this destruction. Everyone has different experiences in the, you know, natural disasters that they've been involved in or affected by. So I just want to say that too. But I know a lot of y'all wanted me to talk about it because essentially we have the same job and I've lived in Tampa all my life. I know far too much about hurricanes. And obviously, because my house got flooded. A lot of people have been asking like how to donate, how to give, whatever, how they can help. I personally think that if you're able to give like directly to a family or like, I don't know, show your support by like a gift card, like directly to them, or like one of our cousins sent us a Publix gift card and Tony and I like went and got subs and stuff because we were, you know, like that's all we're focused on right now is like getting our house back together, and it's just so overwhelming and like figuring out like insurance and okay, we have to do this and we have to do that. And it's like, all right, I don't want my kid to like go in this one area. Last night I was on my hands and knees scrubbing this floor and we have to figure out like the baseboards and like, do we need to take those up? And it's just, it's a lot. I'm exhausted. I've not been getting much sleep at all. So yeah, obviously it's like whenever you go through anything like this, the last thing on your mind is, let me cook dinner. So that was really nice of our cousin and then my sister's bringing us dinner tonight and like also coming to like distract the baby so Tony and I can just like sit for a minute. But yeah, I would say, you know, if you do find like a family and obviously that it's like valid. That's why in my Instagram story, when I shared QR code for the family that lost everything, their entire house was burnt down. I'll put that on the screen right now if you want to scan it. And if you're able to, don't be dumb. If you're able to, then definitely donate to that. And like that's going directly to them, right? So I'm not saying like giving to like certain organizations isn't helpful. It obviously is. And a lot of churches and a lot of, you know, relief organizations really do help a lot of communities. But I know personally that I would rather donate things and my time and especially money directly to a family in need. So if you want to do that, go ahead. Their names are Marissa and Jeff. And they have a 4-month-old little girl, and it is just devastating and heartbreaking that they have lost their house. It's very, very sad. Anyways, I will have linked down below some other families that I have, I don't want to say vetted, but like I know them. These are real people, and I have seen like with my own eyes the, you know, damages and stuff like that, right? So that's another reason why I'm like, I want to be able to like vet people and like, you know, because I'm not trying to have you get scammed. So I don't know, man. I think that it was, you know, just something dumb that she said in passing. And I think she was just talking about, you know, natural disasters, and it's, yeah, Mother Nature's scary as. And I mean, personally, yeah, I would rather go through a hurricane than a horrible earthquake or like one of like the same magnitude or whatever on like the same scale, or a tornado as well, right? I mean, I'd rather do that too, because you have like the time and the, you know, the preparations and stuff like that. So yeah, I would rather do that too. She didn't know the damage that had already happened or like how bad it really was. And also she doesn't live over here anymore. So why would she like be watching the storm, right? I do think people have a right to be like annoyed about it. I was annoyed right when I saw it, and then I was like, oh wait, she said that before. Duh. Listen, there are a bunch of reasons why you cannot like Jaclyn Hill. I don't necessarily think that this is a valid one that she's getting criticism for. And I've told that woman to her face that she should close down her businesses. And I've talked to her about the cozy situation. And I was like, girl, that was dumb. So I'm rambling at this point, but I hope you'll have a great day, night, weekend whenever you're watching this. If you are able to support people who have been affected by the storm, please do. If you want to support me, have these videos on repeat, baby. I'd appreciate it. Like and subscribe and share my videos. Appreciate you. Love you. Stay spicy. Your butt looks good if you're subscribed. And that's only if you're subscribed. If you're not subscribed, you're dead to me. I don't know what you're doing. I do just want to say, I'm sure it's clear, but if I seem like tired or overwhelmed and extra run down in this video, it's not because I hate my job. I don't hate my job. I wouldn't do this if I hated it. Don't be dumb. But it's obviously just because I'm just so drained. I feel like I don't even need to say that. I don't need to say that. If you don't understand why I'm low energy in this video, get it together. You're grounded and in timeout. Okay, goodbye.